Okay, you said a lot of the truck companies weren't drive over a 75-mile radius. They already go past us from New York City with garbage. Okay? Number two is you said you were transparent through this whole process. Nothing, because some of you guys, the water, the sewer, was to help the dump, take care of Johnson's Brothers, and now you guys come up with this stuff. Okay? Number two is you being here, I think is sort of a conflict of interest, because didn't you buy a piece of property and lease it back to Madison County for office buildings, you and your brother? I think that's a conflict of interest to us. So, with that said, I think you shouldn't even be here, because it's a conflict of interest. And you say things that aren't true, and where we haven't heard nothing about any of that. The city water was to help our community out. You sent all these forms. Oh, how many poor people are in Clarksville? That was the lies that we were fed, okay? And if you guys don't stand up for this community, shame on you guys, because a lot of you guys have been here a long time. You too, it's gonna stink, it's terrible. And you shouldn't even be here.
Everyone, please.
In regards to the comments about 10 to 20 extra trucks per day, that was strictly in regards to the fertilizer plant, correct?
That was comments that have been made in the past. Again, that proposal is not on the drawing board today. But yes, there's been a reference to roughly 10 to 20 trucks per day. And I'm under the impression they would operate between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m., which is roughly the hours that the landfill operates now.
Sure. I think that we're talking about many more trucks than that. That's just for the fertilizer plant, which is just one portion of that proposed subdivision. I would suggest that our local infrastructure, our roadways, can't really support that kind of heavy-duty traffic, nor can any of our homes, many of those homes are older. Maybe we don't have the best soundproof windows. In addition, we want to talk about the smells and the odors and the possible safety hazards to everyone. And I understand that this meeting is really limited to talking about subdivision issues, but I think it's been on all of our minds. And we thank all of you sitting on the board for keeping that in mind when you're making decisions regarding all of us who are here and many of us who have multiple generations who've lived in this town for all of these years, and for those of us who are transplants here and who have grown to love the peaceful tranquility of the town of Lincoln and its farmland as well, right? So finally, the last thing I would like to say is how do the board members feel that the removal of the farmland for these proposed activities impacts the town of Lincoln's agricultural and farmland protection plan, and also the town of Lincoln's comprehensive plan that many of you helped write. So do you think that this is a good idea for us? And I just ask you to consider that.
We have one of the most beautiful views when you see Oneida Lake. We saw a landfill, but a much smaller landfill 35 years ago. And I understand it's going to get bigger. But now we see a water tower. And now we have windows that look out towards the west. From every window in our house, we see these solar panels and this huge, and I'm really worried about property values. I mean, we pay a lot of taxes. We've worked very hard. We have a nice house. And I just don't think there needs to be anything more up on that hill. I mean, when we built our house, there was a farm there. And you looked out and you saw a farm and you saw field work and it's really changed. And it's sad. It's very sad because we built our house and we've always lived there. We raised our kids there. And it's totally changed now. And I can't see it getting any worse. I mean, it upsets me what we have to look at now. And I understand you don't live there and you don't look out and see it and you don't smell it occasionally, but we do. And, we've invested a lot in our property, and I hope you reconsider about approving this.
Madison County has a ton of industrial parks already. Okay, the land that you guys want to take is good agricultural land, and we're supposed to preserve some of this stuff. So instead of you guys wasting all this money that you've wasted to put stuff up there, you should utilize some of the vacancies that's been here for the last 10 or 15 years that you guys aren't utilizing that are vacant. You go down Lakeport Road, that whole industrial, I think there's 2 businesses there. And then you guys are going to give a lot to Nice and Easy. Why don't you go down there and put that stuff down there next to the lake? They'll have all the water they want. And why are you ruining good land? That's what you're supposed to, Madison County is supposed to be about agriculture, preserving the community, and you want to put crap crap up here when the town board, there's no need for this right now because you guys have enough land, other places. Don't roll your eyes at me. Because this is something that these guys have to address because that's part of their job to see it's all about community development. They have a plan here. And if it doesn't fit in the plan right now, they shouldn't vote yes. Because even if they vote yes, we ain't come to the board and change it where you can't even put that stuff there. So if we don't work together here, nothing's gonna happen. And don't roll your eyes at me. I don't like that. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. This is about our community, not yours. When Madison County has taken our taxpayer money and had a ton of developments for businesses to come into New York State, and they're all empty. Every single one. And here you are, taking federal money, putting in water that we didn't need, putting in sewer, when you guys already had all that stuff developed down there in Lakeport. And you got, Canastoga's got a development park, you got a development park in Casanova. So what is the real reason why in a greenhouse? Just like those greenhouses that are supposed to go up to their dump. I heard they're going in Wampsville, on the old brewer farm. If you want to know anything about this, that you're in a development program. Let's talk about that. Yes or no? Are you going to roll your eyes at me or what? Come on, let's go.
Also, I'm worried about property values, health issues, the noise. And I guess one thing why would somebody want to buy into a subdivision if it smells? What companies are going to want to come into that area and show off a business when you can't even go outside because it stinks?
Why would we even consider compounding those issues? It seems like what we're doing is exacerbating what currently exists. We're making it worse. And unless there's some overwhelming tremendous advantage to doing it, I don't think we should be considering it.
There's other land. We don't need it.
My question, two parts basically. Number one, are there members on the board that would be voting on issues related to this that work for Madison County or have a connection to Madison County other than being a resident?
You're probably referencing me. My name's Jen Farwell. I work for Cornell Cooperative Extension, but I do receive Madison County funding. I'm on this part of the room for a reason. I'm not sitting at the table or voting on this.
And you would abstain from these votes as well?
If it's related to something that's relevant to my position.
I would assume that she would ask for legal counsel's advice, and I would assume that if she's not personally, financially benefiting from it, that she wouldn't need to abstain, but again, she's got legal counsel here for a reason, and they can address that if that becomes an issue.
And then my second concern is I took a visit down to Peekskill where they have a digester right on the Hudson. Noisier than you want to believe. There are 80 trucks, and I counted them, standing in line with them banging and clanging and emptying, and then all night it was a plume of white smoke coming out the top. Now, you're probably going to say, oh, that's just steam, but who knows what's in that steam and how far it carries. I mean, let's face it, they did nuclear testing out west, and the highest point of fallout was Troy, New York, and you can see that in the history. So I'm really opposed to this idea of a digester fertilizer plant. We know what happened in Oklahoma with fertilizer. I mean, there's a lot of issues that come from this.
I came here a year ago specifically to get away from industry of any kind. Doesn't matter what it is. The minute it goes in, I'm out. There's no reason for me to stay anymore. I work in Syracuse. I moved 45 minutes away to get away from industry of any kind, of retail of any kind, of business of any kind. As a homeowner, I have a right to quiet, peaceful enjoyment. It's a right. You bring me in business, go on. No need for it anymore. I'm not having it. That's all there is.
I also had a water problem last year, and up the road from me, someone had a water problem, and Madison County had a grant to check the wells, test the wells. I work in a beauty salon and people talk, so I was aware of that, and I asked questions, and they tested my well for free. Why would someone go target our road and say, hey, we have a grant, we can test your water? Just, you don't have to tell me there was a problem, but if that's a sneaky business that goes on underneath us, and I'm just a hairdresser, it's very scary to think what big business does. Because it all looks good, but what is it really?
Now, I just lost someone very close to me a couple weeks ago in a crash on that road. Now, if you're gonna put, a digester up there, that's gonna require big ass trucks.
Yep.
Bringing equipment and stuff up there. Other people getting hurt like that, especially if there's a big truck parked on top of the hill on Bouvier Road by the dump with that curve.
They're gonna bring them up Timmerman Road and widen it right out. That's what they're gonna do.
That's bordering my land, and 500 feet. Well, I live 500 feet, and I never got anything if it's bordering on the town.
It's coming.
Oh,
If we go to a public.
well, I'm 500 feet from there, so.
So we've been talking tonight about how the impact really for the town of Lincoln extends beyond that 500-foot notice area. Is there some way that we can create what we consider to be the impact area of this project so that people will have notice? I think the biggest problem that we've had so far is the exchange of information. Is people, trying to find out what's going on and not having access to it. But if we know when things are happening and what's going to be happening, I think people would feel a lot better about that, and then we could come with more specific things in mind than, we're talking about a lot of things here that are really covered beyond the scope of the planning board tonight, and maybe it would be better served for the meeting tomorrow night, for example. But if we can get that out so that people would be in the impact area, for example, if we did have a fertilizer plant, that would, if God forbid it should ever explode, the impact area could be a couple miles out from the actual plant itself. I mean, there's things like that, or, if we were gonna put sirens in case we had a chemical problem or something like that. So maybe we expand the area that we notify people about what's happening up there, so that they feel better. We're already worried about our water, everyone is. The proposed new things happening at the landfill, along with the existing landfill, are all taking place at the top of the hill, which has protected, I shouldn't say protected, sensitive water areas. We're all worried about it, but if everybody in the area who is concerned about it has notice of what's happening and when it's happening, maybe that would be a good thing. Is there some mechanism to make that happen so that all town of Lincoln residents, or at least those who choose to be notified about these incidents or these meetings, can do so? Is there a way that can happen?
I can't speak for the town board or the town government per se, but I can tell you that the 500-foot requirement is a local requirement of the town of Lincoln. That
Okay.
is much more extensive than state law requires. State law requires only that a notice be published in the paper.
Okay,
So the town of Lincoln actually goes way beyond what the state law requires as a minimum. And I understand what you're saying in terms of people beyond the 500 feet feeling impacted, but it is quite an administrative burden. This town runs on a bare minimum of staff administratively.
So no matter what we say as a group tonight, we approve or disapprove, it's still up to these gentlemen to pass this, no matter what we say.
It's up to the planning board ultimately to vote on the application.
So we're just pretty much wasting our time.
I'm very uncomfortable with dividing this whole thing up tonight or tomorrow. I don't know what's going in there.
Thank you.
So if we have full exposure to what's going in there, and we know how much land they need, I think you're gonna have a lot more receptivity. But when you divide this whole thing up, and then it may be divided again, it's out of our hands.
That's when you'll have a final say on it.
Well, yeah, but we're being pressured to divide this thing up into these, they don't even make logic to me in terms of the size of the lots and so forth. And they aren't tailored to the client that we're the acceptable client that we're going to consider for one of these parcels. So my vote is, I'm very uncomfortable with dividing this up the whole. I'm comfortable with one piece at a time, with a full discussion, full disclosure, and so we have some idea what's going on. I think you would get a lot of possibilities, of which we have a little more say in what we want to come in here. If we have a digester and a fertilizer plant and whatever, I don't know where those came from. You know, and it's in the letter, it's in some of this verbiage here. Where did that come from? Where did the fertilizer plant come from? Where did the digester come from? Where did some of these other things come from? I mean, they've been discussed by somebody, but I haven't had an opportunity to evaluate that.
I'm telling you, if I don't subdivide the property, if I don't have control of it so that I can sell it to private businesses, I don't think we'll get anyone up there.
We want to see that the private business works with the community and the
Agreed.
landfill. We want to be assured of that. We want to be really assured.
Because I agree with you. If you don't dissect that the way he's asking, then you get to assess it for whatever, if it fits us or not.
Well, you want to divide this whole thing up into separate lots. And I'm, as I said, I'm very uncomfortable. I don't know how the other board members feel. I still like the Johnson model, where in the solar panel model, they came to us, they did the videos, they gave us some idea of what it would look like. They did a great job. In this process, it's going to be really too late. Once you decide on who you're going to have in your parcel, our parcel, or whatever it is, then it's really too late for us to, I mean, we can go through the gymnastics here, this and that, but I think it's a little too late unless the public stands up and says, no.
I don't think that it's too late. I think we're going down the necessary path, and the appropriate path. And I think that was the same question that was just asked. Are we going to have, is this board going to have an opportunity to review the impact of individual businesses? And the answer to that is yes.
So why don't we review the individual businesses at the time they apply and they look, decide what kind of property, land access, or, you know, what they need in terms of property to make it happen.
Because the greenhouse prospect already said it's
Well,
too late. And if you
Well,
look
that's
at,
too bad. The greenhouse project could have happened because we accepted it last month.
no, they didn't provide a site plan. They did not propose a business. We
Well,
simply
that's too
subdivided.
bad. They're gone. There's other greenhouses out there, I'm sure, if you go out there and solicit that type of business, I'm sure there's.
Business recruitment isn't that easy.
uh,
There's a lot of communities with a lot of good things to offer, and to think that we're able to sit back and simply put out an RFP and engage, I don't know.
Well, you've got energy, and you said that's your
We've got some very
that's your
good
gain
selling
point.
points. There's
some
no doubt
selling
about
points
it.
there.
But
So
it's
let's
gotta
build
be
on
the
the selling
appropriate
points and work towards that, rather than dividing this thing all up into parcels that may not make any sense.
We are not going to win. We are not going to
You know that
have the
I
opportunity.
was chair of this board for quite a long time, and we did the land management plan, and we listened. We listened to the public, and we listened to what the needs were, and we came up with the land management plan. Before that, you know, I heard, you know, we don't want trailers, we don't want this, we don't want that, but the public came around and said that was a good thing. Now you got people that say doesn't go far enough. Okay? I think we need to listen to our clients, our taxpayers, people that pay the bills. And I think there's a lot of good ideas that came out of here tonight. But I honestly, and I'm one board member, I haven't heard any other board members say anything at this point. But I think it's getting ahead of the game by subdividing this thing up into all these parcels, not knowing who is going to, and if it's going to be a fertilizer plant and a digester and whatever, those probably aren't going to be acceptable by the people we serve. Honestly, I don't know where you came up with those 3 items. That's the first I heard of them when I saw this thing that came around in the mail. Where did that come from?
No, no, it's 3 items you're referring to.
Well, the digester, the fertilizer
Oh,
plant.
no.
What thing went around the
Something-
canal?
This right here you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, who dropped this off here? It was brought from the county through Mr. Wilcox. He dropped it off here, so.
Those are businesses.
This is
that-
last minute, you know, I think one of our board members asked to have some information on this whole process before we had our meeting tonight. I got that thing as I came into the building here, and it's unacceptable.
Correct.